We have been looking at Jeremiah and what Jeremiah tells us about excuse me, surrendering and hearing. First thing he told us was it is good to sit alone. That is being alone, still before the Father, letting him speak to you. In the busyness of our lives, we often don't like being still. But stillness is important because it helps us to rest and know the Father. The next thing he says is be silent before him. Be silent since he has laid it on him. In other words, Jeremiah is trying to help us to stop talking. Often we are noisier than we need to be. There's a good thing about taking a vow of silence and being quiet. Again, in my own life, it helps my internal rhythm slow down so that I can hear the Father, that I can see the Father. Being silent, again, is something we don't like to do. In fact, if you drive by or if you're in a bus or you're walking or you're in the mall, 80% of the time you'll see someone with headphones on, something in their ear. They're either on the phone listening to music or they're embroiled in a deep conversation, sometimes very quietly, sometimes quite animated. What's the idea there? Is that we, again, go back to the first thing, we don't like being alone. We also don't like being silent. Excuse me. We like to be heard. We like to be seen. And being heard and seen, that means we're verbal. We are speaking out. We're speaking into someone. We want someone to hear and see us. But silence is something we need to do. Again, silence, like stillness, helps us to slow down and be still. It helps us to hear. Because often our words are too many. And because our words are too many, we often don't hear or see what the Father wants us to do because we're so engaged in talking, being loud, being animated, being social. And silence helps us to see and hear the Father. Elijah had such a problem. He's trying to see and hear the Father. He looked at all the busyness, he looked at all the noise, he looked at all the things going on around him. An earthquake, a fire, a storm, if you will. Because it wasn't until he was silent that he heard the still, small voice of the Father. Silence. Silence helps us to hear. Why? Because again, like sitting alone, it drowns out and pushes away all of the noise in our life. It pushes away, too, that whole idea that many of us like to sing the spiritual blues. We sing them well. We like to complain and God this, God that, I want you to do this, that, and the other. But sometimes the Father says, just be still, be silent. When we're silent, not only do we hear, we see and understand the majesty of it. We see and understand what it is he is doing. Yes, sometimes it looks a little cloudy, but that's where faith is required. I trust the Father. Lord, I need you to lead me. 2 days ago, talking with a wonderful friend of mine, we've known each other for many, many years. And he says, Jared, I'm trying to hear the Father. I'm trying to hear the Father. I keep trying to hear the Father. I want to know what to do, how to do this. Where do I go? What do I do? I said, sometimes we need to just be silent, stop talking, stop complaining, stop whining. Lord, help me do this, Lord. Help me to hear you. So I use the illustration of hearing aids. Sometimes we need to unstop our ears because our own worry, our own verbiage, our own angst, all of these things that get in the way of being still before the Father. Help us to not be silent. Because we always have our complaint. We always have, Lord, bless me, as opposed to, Lord, help me to be silent to hear you. I've done that several times. The key points in my life and marriage will help us to be silent, that we may hear. God is always speaking, even when we feel like God is silent. He is speaking, Lord, and stop my ears that I may hear you. Help me to be silent. Lord, place a guard over my mouth, as Proverbs says. That Lord, I may hear you. Why? Because we get so involved in trying to hear, we stop listening because we're not silent. All of us, many of us, hopefully, will remember holding a baby, trying to get it to be still, be quiet, stillness, to be silent. What happens when that child is silent? They feel rested. They feel secure. You and I feel rested and secure when we're silent before the Father. We take a deep, spiritual deep breath, rest in the Father. Why? Because we're silent, we can hear Him. We can understand Him, what He's doing and saying, ah. Now, there's another part here, Simon. I just touched on it, but I'll touch on it again. The second part of this clause is be silent since He, God, has laid it on him, the person. What's he saying there? What's the idea on that part? It is to stop complaining. I mentioned it before. Stop whining, stop complaining. Lord, help me to hear you. Lord, help me to understand that it is your will being done here, not mine. We get twisted sometimes because we don't want to be silent. We want God to do what we want him to do. We want to whine. We want to complain. The Father says, no, let me do what I do. Be silent. Stop talking. Stop complaining. Stop the activity that says you're not listening. And be still. Use active listening skills. Attend the Father. Lean in. Let the Father hear you. Be conscious of what the Father is saying. Take the time to listen. Be intimate with the Father. Let him speak there. Let him speak into you. Why? Because when we do active listening, we're saying, Father, I want to be still, sit alone as we done yesterday. I want to be silent before you. Help me. I encourage you at some point today, tomorrow, try that. And it's going to be hard, I have to confess, to be silent before you. Because people with such energy, such passion, such drive, but to be silent takes a lot. To be silent means I've got to work at this. And I can actively listen to the Father. Back to my friend again. He's still trying to listen. He knows how to listen better now. Because often the fathers can speak to our circumstances. But he's learned to be silent, to let the Father speak, that he may hear. Because he's alone, sitting alone, he's still. Saying, Father, speak to me. Your servant is listening. Lord, help me to be silent. Father, too, we thank you for the gift of silence. Lord, we don't like it. Sometimes it makes us afraid. But Lord, we know that in our silence, our being still before you, our sitting alone before you, that you indeed are there with us and for us. So, Father, pray for myself and my dear friends. The Lord, you help us to be still and to be silent before you, not to continue to receive the review of you and hear and know what you're doing and do. In your name, Jesus, be blessed today, my dear friends.